I was one of the Native American children, adopted at birth and removed from our country's Indian reservation system. I was raised in a small middle-class farming community, but was never told of my true American Indian heritage. It was still taboo back in those early days. The years passed, and in 1987 I lost both parents. While going through their personal belongings, my wife discovered my adoption papers and she began a search. 5 years later, I was reunited with my biological Lakota family, living on the Lower Brule Sioux Indian Reservation of South Dakota. I am a son of two mothers and a product of two worlds that had collided, but I have an equal amount of love and pride for both. I'm Paul LaRoche, and the stories you are about to see are an attempt to share this true American story of a hidden heritage.
Carried in the nation.
I'm Paul LaRoche, and today we're visiting with an old friend of mine, Art Shegonee. We happen to be on the Lac du Flambeau Reservation, which is in northern Wisconsin, and I consider this to be kind of a rare opportunity. Art and I guess I'd say our lives have been connected in some way, shape, or form for the past 25 years.
Well, I would say bonjour to all my relatives and friends that I am from the Menominee Indian Reservation, but in actuality I got started performing and dancing right here on this reservation, on the Lac du Flambeau Reservation, due to a friend of mine by the name of Nick Hawkins, who gave me his first dance outfit to first start traditional dancing. And so in our culture, to receive a dance outfit is a big deal because it comes with a lot of responsibility, eagle feathers, and there's a lot more to getting an outfit and to dancing and to the culture and things like that.
Well, let me ask you this, Art. I know most of your life story from about 25 years ago up to the present, but I really don't know what it was like when you were growing up.
Well, I was born on the Menominee Indian Reservation back in 1958, and I was taken off my home reservation because of my family situation. My mother had tuberculosis and had gotten sick, so I had 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and which have all have passed away, and I'm the only living relative right now of my siblings. But I was put in 2 foster homes before the age of 5. And the first foster home I was taken off the Menominee Reservation, probably I would say about in Boulder, Wisconsin. And it wasn't a very good place for me to be. And that's where my real sister at the time, when I was probably about 4 years old, and my real sister, she had been placed in a foster home up the road from where I was at. And so from what I had heard is that she came down to see me. And I remember a young girl coming down to see me in my first foster home. And but later on, when I did catch up and find out who my sister was, she had told me, actually I got to talk to her foster mother. And she had said at that time, when she came down to bring my sister down to see me in my first foster home, my foster mother told my sister's foster mother, she said, it's okay, you bring Art's sister down, but I don't want you to let him know that this is his sister. And so So you know, that their part, you know, was kind of hard.
Life on a reservation for an Indian kid back in those days had its share of difficulties.
Well, not so much the reservation, but in the white world, because I was placed in a white foster home, you know, and at that time people needed money. And, you know, and I never understood why this woman did the things she did to me, you know, like make me run a driveway and stand me in corners, you know, and I mean, sure, there might have been some good times, but I kind of remember some of the bad times that she did to me. I remember two women coming and picking me up, two social workers coming and pick me up to take me to my next foster home, you know. And the only thing I remember is climbing in the back seat of this car and falling asleep because I was so wore out, you know, because of not sleeping very well, you know. And so the next foster home I went to was quite a bit different, where they had kids, they had Native American kids that were from the Menominee Indian Reservation, and later on I did find out that these kids that they did have were Menominee, and also they were kind of related to me as well, you know, like shirt-tail cousins and stuff. I could tell that there was something had changed, that I could be myself, I could do what I needed to do as a child, you know. And second foster parents, they were always very great to let us know who we were and stuff, and she always let us know that I was Native American. She goes, you're not our child, but we love you like our own. You're a Native American, you know. You're a Native American, and you're Indian. I'm thinking to myself, what are you talking about? You know, I'm not like you. You know, I'm like. But in school, when we went to school and stuff, and that's where they came to us and they said, well, we have these forms for you kids to fill out to get your tribal identity. I mean, what are you talking about, tribal identity? You know, what is this, you know? And this is way before casinos and stuff. So I had, they said, well, you could pick two tribes that you want to be. What are you talking about? Well, my mother was Menominee and my father was Potawatomi. So both Algonquin speaking languages, which I had no idea of anything of that, you know. And so, so I thought, well, I don't live in Kansas, you know, because that's where the Potawatomis had been from, and that's where I guess where I thought my dad was from. And so I said, well, I don't live in Kansas, and I don't ever think that I'm going to be in Kansas. So since it makes sense to me, why not be where my mother is from, the Menominee Nation? You and I met about in around 1994, 95. And when I first met you, you were already pretty well established in the culture. You were a traditional dancer. You were involved in other things, as we'll talk about in a little bit. But when did you start to dance traditional? Probably about 9 years before that. Okay. Yeah. So 9 years before then you began dancing. Now, were you what they call official powwow competition dancer, or did you dance more for the enjoyment of it? I think I danced a couple competitions, you know, but never, you know, maybe I took or fourth, you know, and I mean, I wouldn't say I was the greatest dancer, you know. I could do my part and stuff, and in schools and dancing, and I think for what me and Nick were doing, I think it was good for at that time to educate people on Native American culture, because before then everybody was getting things from books, and the books weren't even right, you know, and it's still about Columbus and all that, you know. So my friend Nick thought, you know, back in the treaty rights days, because there was so much racism and stuff, he says, well, why don't we just take our culture and go into these schools and start educating in a good way, letting people know who we are, telling it from our side of the story, you know, really letting the people know who we are as Anishinaabe or Ojibwe in our language and our culture and stuff like that, because the people are not really getting it.
Yeah, no. And so did you guys do that little educational circuit for a number of years then?
Oh yeah, quite a few years.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, all over the state of Wisconsin, some up in Minneapolis, Michigan, you know, even, so that was the great thing about my friend Nick, is that, well, my brother, that he put something together. He was an artist, a drawer, you know, and a great dancer, you know, and storyteller, and he was like that person that, you know, if he saw something and he wanted to do it, he could do it. He could draw it, he could tell about it and tell you about it and make it happen.
My first recollection was an event called Indian Summer in Milwaukee, and you were working in a little native village component of that event called Shegonee.
Oh, probably about 1990, but you know, the Indian Summer had asked Nick to come up and build the village, and about an authentic Native American village, you know, because when you're living in the city in Milwaukee, it's like the only thing that people get exposed to is things on TV. You know, and Indian Summer was a big deal, you know, so people from all over came to Indian Summer, the powwow, the food, the drink, the pop, and the camaraderie of it, you know. So you finally got to see Native Americans in their real traditional outfits, dancing and singing, you know, and talking their language. And so me and Nick became the Native American ambassadors for that, you know, for over 20-some years. And so that, you know, it was just something that was really needed at that time, and that helped break a lot of barriers with because of the teachers would bring their students. They had an educational day on Thursday, Friday, and so the kids would all be bussed in to see the powwow grounds, to see what all Native Americans did and what they ate, what they wore, how they spoke, and what they, you know, what the drums would sound like, you know, and the feathers, you know, and actually what the meaning of feathers, what the meaning of some of the stuff was, because otherwise they didn't know, you know, they just came away, you know, with this thing. Well, Indians, you know, they talk like this, they ooh, you know, it's like, no, we don't, you know. So we kind of educated them on how we do what is real stuff that we do, you know, and get rid of the phony stuff, you know.
When did you meet your wife, Dawn?
I met her probably around 1999, because that's about the time when the fishing treaty rights started and stuff, 90.
Did you ever consider yourself like an activist for the culture?
Yeah, I would say I was an activist and, you know, educator, promoter, ambassador, you know, because at that time, you know, when there was a lot of stuff that people were not getting, and so we needed people out there to do things, and you had to be a certain type of individual back then, because you had to, you know, you had to have a protective shield up, you know, but still maintaining a good voice, a good communication skills, you know, and if somebody got angry, you know, and came in, because they would come right up to your face and they would start, you know, yelling and spitting and screaming at you, and so you had to have a calmness about you and not, you know, not get all ruffled, you know, and sure, it's easy, you know, I or Nick, we could have probably gotten into many fights because of that, but, you know, we maintained a calmness about us, you know. It's not worth it. If we want to educate, we want to do things, you know, and these other people that were bringing their children, you know, to some of these events, you know, so we thought, well, in order for us to show a good stance, we have to stay and maintain a good repertoire of who and what we are as Indian people, you know, because we're also showing that young person too who we are as a person, as Native American persons. You know, we're not going to get into a fist of cuffs and stuff like that. We're going to maintain, we're going to talk normal, and, you know, and if they don't want to hear us, they're going to have to either walk away or keep on yelling, but we have this option of walking away, but getting our message across in a good way too.
Well, that's good, Art. I commend you for that, because that's being a good role model then too for the children, because when they see that you can handle an argument or a stance and not lose your composure, that's a good lesson itself. So Art told me something, or Nick told me something once, a little piece of advice that I always remembered it. In regards to that, he said, "There's a line and there's an envelope that you can push, and you have to push that envelope. But if you break it, you're going to lose everything you've worked for."
Right.
And I always didn't quite make sense 100% back when he first told me, but as the years passed, it sure did.
Yeah.
Of the state of Native America in the year 1995.
Still a lot of unknowns, a lot of racism, a lot of discrimination.
Do you feel like you made some headway with Call for Peace over the years?
Oh, definitely. Because we had 7 or 8 different cultures involved and stuff, and people kind of told me and my wife, Dawn, what are you trying to do? You can't put those cultures together. You can't put those drums together, and that's going to sound terrible, But yet, when we all did it and practiced together, it all came together, in peace, balance, and harmony, and it all worked out really great, and there was no fighting, there was no, well, my culture is this or this, we all took a part of it, and we all took hold of it, and it's still going yet today, and that's what me and Nick were part of, and his faith, the Baha'i faith, kind of really resonated with the Call for Peace. And so we do whatever we can, trying to keep the Call for Peace going. My wife and I, she's doing some stories and history about Call for Peace and about what it means. And then a part of like the Ojibwe culture too, it all ties into this when we're coming together. Like it's called the Ashke B'Madizing, the new people. And it says, when we have a prophecy kind of says that when the water turns to poison and you can no longer eat the fish, a new people will emerge. You have a road, you have 2 roads to choose from. One road is a good road and one road is not. Sustainable, and one's money and greed and power. Which one do you want?
If you had 1 minute to meet with the current president, I've always said the current because it's changed in 25 years, to meet with the current president as a representative of the culture, well, what would you, I'm putting you on the spot, but think about it for a second, would you ask a question or do you make a statement, or what would you do with that 1 minute?
Well, I guess I would beat him with kindness.
Is there work left undone that you want to get to?
Well, recently, I've come down with this muscle disease, very debilitating to me, which I didn't know at the time. And the muscle disease is called mitochondria myopathy, which I got from my mother, and so I never got to meet my mother. She died probably when I was about 12 or 13 in a sanitarium. And so I never got to see her, talk to her, hear her voice, but I ended up with this muscle disease, But yeah, there's plenty of things I still wanted to do, like dancing was a big part of my life.
Each of our lives becomes a series of events that over time reveal their true meaning and significance. The impact of these events on each of our lives varies, but clearly some define the course of our destiny. One such event took place for us on our first performance at Indian Summer 20 years ago. We were given a spot to perform way off the beaten path, close to the shore of Lake Michigan and just behind what was called Shegonee Indian Village. The group back in those days consisted of my daughter Nicole and our drummer Chuck Davis and myself. And even with our remote location, a small crowd would gather each time that we would perform our small sets. presenting for the first time the music of Brule at Indian Summer. Unexpectedly, in the middle of one of the songs called Bravehearts, a dancer from the Indian village began to dance to our music and slowly made his way over to where we were playing, merging for the first time the contemporary music of our group Brule with traditional Native American dance. Well, his name was Art Shegonee, and his interpretation of our music seemed to go even deeper as it carried a spiritual translation that the audience could sense even without the spoken word. As time went by, Art would dance with us countless times over the next 2 decades. That combination of music and dance over time was to become a trademark for Brule and a benchmark for the Native American culture within the mainstream music industry. A process we called pioneering the last musical frontier, the emergence of Native America into the mainstream entertainment industry. This year, we returned to Indian Summer for the 20th time. Our good friend Art could no longer dance, but as we played Bravehearts for him in a special tribute, he still commanded the spirit of that song and carried a call for peace and a message for all humanity that we are all related, brothers and sisters of one heart, one mind, and one body.